is a wonderful turnout and a wonderful event, and it's a year past the founding of the club. I actually wrote out what I was going to say so Matthew would not throw things at me. So the first thing is that I want to acknowledge the work of the Wellstone Club Coordinating Committee who organized this event. In particular, Julie Dickey, who is responsible for the logistics and the catering, and Ellen Augustine and Dawn Del Monte, who made multiple follow-up phone calls inviting you here. And I'd like all of the current and past coordinating committee members to please raise your hands. I would like to particularly thank Giovanna Tanzillo, who runs Uptown Body and Family, and who has wonderfully and graciously allowed us to use this venue for our event. I learned in conversation this afternoon that Giovanna was with Mississippi Summer in 1964, and that the wall across the street from Uptown Body and Fender is going to soon have a mural celebrating Palestinian water rights. The Wellstone Democratic Renewal Club was founded early in 2003, so we're celebrating our 10th anniversary and our 11th year. This club was formed because Matthew Hallinan persuaded a collection of people, many of whom had been working together since the 1960s, that the time was right for a progressive democratic club that had one foot in the world of electoral politics and another in the struggles for peace and social justice. The war in Iraq had begun, and the government had been taken over by neocons. It was time that many progressives got off the fence and recognized that we had to work politically within the Democratic Party in order to make a difference in the 2004 elections. We were joined by a new group of activists who were energized by the Kucinich and Dean presidential campaigns. So Matthew is the godfather of this club, and his wisdom and sense of political balance has been central to the growth and survival of a most complex organization, having a diversity of points of view about the details of progressive politics, but united on its principles. Discourse, and we do have to move it along. Having both Senator Hancock and Congresswoman Lee with us today can be looked at as a framework for the origins and future of this club. Many of the founders of the club worked with Loni back in the 60s in the civil rights, anti-war, and Berkeley progressive movements. This was a movement that led to Ron Dellums becoming a member of Congress, John George becoming a member of the Board of Supervisors, and Barbara Lee succeeding Ron. The club was the beneficiary of this process in the person of Mal Bernstein, one of our founding members, for whom the concept of the long haul is an understatement. Again, and we were galvanized by the courage of Congresswoman Lee's lone vote against the authorization of military force after personally proud to have worked with Loni in the 60s and to have helped organize the rally for Barbara on the steps of the Federal Building when she returned home from that momentous vote. The first major activity of the club was organizing a voter registration drive. This was in 2004. This was, in the first place, the work of Norma Armand and Bobby Steinhardt, and included scores of club volunteers. Norma, raise your hand. Okay. Our club registered more than 7,000 new voters in Alameda County. Those who undervalue voter registration in this overwhelmingly Democratic county should consider that this county can make a difference in statewide elections for initiatives as well as for public office. In the course of this voter registration drive, we discovered that many African American and Latino men turned away from our volunteer registrars because they had served time for felonies and believed, along with most lawyers and judges in the state, that they no longer could vote. Judy Grether and Kathy Kahn, Judy isn't with us, but where's Kathy? Judy Grether and Kathy Kahn discovered that this was not true. They organized Voting Rights for All, which then registered thousands of men and women who had completed their sentences and therefore could exercise their civil rights. They worked with prisoner support groups, churches, and community organizations. That work continues today with the club's efforts to have the Secretary of State recognize the voting rights of former prisoners released to the community. Meanwhile, Matthew had organized a group of people to support Social Security, which was then under attack by the Bush administration. Don Goldmacher and Judy Berkelson spurred into action by the 2000 Florida hanging Chad debacle, started the Voting Rights Task Force, and worked to get Deborah Bowen the Democratic nomination for Secretary of State in 2006. Jim Silver and Richard Tam, the current co-chairs, have continued the fight, scoring victories over debold election systems and the number of bills mistakenly attempting to bring internet voting to California. Now, after being a charismatic and moving force in the Howard Dean for President campaign, and then in the Wellstone Club, Vicki Cosgrove encouraged Jerry McNerney to run for Congress against the notorious Richard Pombo. Vicki, where are you? After Jerry lost the first time, Vicki and Matthew helped him pick up the pieces and organized scores of club members to support his second run and victory. Vicki is an extraordinary leader, and the club was blessed by her years of leadership. Nikki Gonzalez-Ewan came to the club as a graduate of the Paul Wellstone campaigns, successfully ran for Peralta trustee, and showed us how to organize election campaigns and gala club events. With his initiative, our biannual dinners have featured Senator Sheila Kuehl, Secretary of State Deborah Bowen, and Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones. The club was at the core of Abel Diane's victorious campaign for Peralta trustee and his subsequent assembly campaign. We took responsibility for 20 precincts in support of Sandre Swanson's race for assembly and then for Ron Dellum's race for Oakland mayor. Judy Pope came to the club with a proposal to raise money for national voter registration efforts in 2004. That House Party campaign raised $250,000. She then led the campaign to organize Democratic clubs in the Bay Area to adopt resolutions opposing the war in Iraq. Next, Judy is with her grandchildren today, but next, Judy and Nancy Friedman. Nancy, where are you? Judy and Nancy Friedman led club and community efforts in support of single-payer health care, both nationally and in California. Judy is now the club's lead person in the anti-fracking campaign. Harry and Carol Brill returned to Berkeley after decades of absence, and Harry immediately began organizing the club in street actions, first in support of the Berkeley Honda strikers, then in support of the Woodfin workers, and then, inspired by Occupy, a weekly tax the rich demonstration on Solano Avenue in Berkeley. Primarily responsible for introducing the club to Oakland politics. Pamela shares her broad and unique understanding of urban politics with us. We can see all around us that Oakland is experiencing a renaissance like never before, but the old challenges are still there with the added issue of rapid gentrification. Pamela regularly brings us speakers who can help us be part of the solution. She's been elected as a delegate to the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee from the 18th Assembly District, where she is joined by Kate Harrison, who represents the club on that committee. Our club is an active participant in the New Priorities campaign, supporting the budget of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. This alternative budget is the framework for the building of a progressive movement. There are some copies available for you on the literature table. We were a presence in Occupy. We didn't break windows. We raised money for the restrooms that were required, and we're lucky to have Ying Lee and Ruth McGuire as our permanent representatives there. And 5 Wellstone Club members are current or past members of the KPFA local station board. Don't groan. It's part of the politics of the East Bay. The club has been active in local and state elections. Rachel Conhood, John Capps, Catherine Trimber, and Mal Bernstein have analyzed complex propositions for the club and helped us through the vetting of candidates. Mal has led us through the intricacies of the Democratic Party. Cesc Rosales has used her talents as a graphic designer and webmaster to bring the club into the modern world. Not a small achievement. We were overjoyed when Barack Obama was elected, and then have had to relearn the basic lesson for progressives. that it's much clearer and easier to be in opposition to the bad guys than it is to make progress in a system that is dominated by the institutions of the giant corporations and the military-industrial complex, and where all of the Republicans are bad guys and some of the Democrats are not good guys. Meanwhile, Sharon Maldonado and Margot Smith have led the defense of the downtown Berkeley post office. Zippy Collins and Kitty Calavita are hard at work getting city councils and school boards to support Proposition 13 reform. And the club has been asking our representatives in Sacramento to support a moratorium on fracking. Richard Tam has taken the lead on opposition to fast tracking of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Finally, we come to the matter of the minimum wage. Nikki has organized and led the campaign for a minimum wage increase in Berkeley. 3 of the members of the Berkeley Labor Commission that developed the proposed ordinance, Wendy Bloom, Jerry Fillingham, and Sam Frankel, are Wellstone Club members. The matter is coming before the City Council on Thursday, May 1st. May 1st. We have to have a sense of humor about that. While Nikki has been organizing young people and minimum wage workers, others in the club, particularly Harry Brill, Victor Garland, David Fielder, and Ned Pearlstein, have been organizing emails, visits, and meetings with city council members. We have also been working with the Oakland campaign to place a minimum wage initiative on the ballot there. And they're down there and they're going to take signatures. Okay. The Wellstone Democratic Renewal Club, like all living organizations, is in the continuing process of being refreshed and reinvented. But we have a guiding principle for this change. Our club recognizes that progressives have a multiplicity of particular concerns, but are also bound together by an overarching commitment to social justice. The club acts to support all of these movements and amplify their power through organization. It's the old story of the relationship of the parts to the whole. We also recognize that it's not enough simply to elect Democrats. We need to be part of a powerful grassroots movement that recognizes the conflicting class and social pressures on those whom we elect. We are committed to exerting loving and relentless pressure on them to represent the interests of the people and the planet. We are grateful to Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who continues to lead us and the nation in the struggles for peace and social justice. The budget of the Congressional Progressive Caucus is the progressive alternative to the Republicans and the Tea Party. And so, here we are. We are honoring Senator Loni Hancock, who is ending her career in the legislature by undertaking prison reform and particularly reform of solitary confinement. As a veteran of the prison struggles of the 1970s, I am particularly grateful to Loni on this account. We are proud to be a Democratic club in a district represented by these giants, and of course the next 10 years, the past 10 years, are just the beginning. Thank you.